Good evening. The Jackson Public School Board meeting is now called to order. Board members, we have 6 members present, 3 on the phone, Mrs. Letitia Johnson, Dr. Jean Hairston, and Mr. Frank Figures. We have 3 in the boardroom. Ms. Hilliard, welcome back. It's great to have you. She actually never left. She was on the phone, but it's great to have her back in the boardroom. Board members, we have all had an opportunity to review the agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda as presented?
I so move. Second.
Ms. Hilliard has moved. Mrs. Thompson has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries. Next, we have all had the opportunity to review the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the May 16, 2023 regular board meeting minutes?
I so move. Second.
Mrs. Thompson has moved. Ms. Hilliard has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 The motion carries. Now on to the superintendent's report. Dr. Green.
Thank you, Dr. Sivak. Good evening, board members. Good evening to our team members and all of our stakeholders who are joining us this evening. We typically will begin, we'll begin as we typically do with our highlights from the instructional television team.
Seniors from 7 Jackson Public Schools wearing caps and gowns gathered at the Mississippi Coliseum.
The only way to improve is to move forward and accept that it is what it is, like Dr. Eric Green once said. Just stay determined, stay true to yourself, and good luck for the future.
Their hearts filled with pride and accomplishment as years of hard academic effort paid off with graduation diplomas.
For you, graduates, we recognize you as overcomers, as scholars, and only you really know what you've had to overcome, what you've had to fight through in order to get here to this point. It's for that reason that we salute you this evening.
On behalf of the Jackson Council PTA, it is my pleasure to welcome all of you to our annual Salute the Scholars program, where we share and celebrate student performances and student achievement of the top 10 students at all of our amazing high schools.
A celebration of academic performance at Forest Hill High School.
These people right here are going to be leading us and serving us at some point. And they are absolutely ready. The question is the world ready for them?
Exceptional achievement rewarded with induction into the JPS ACT 30+ Club. Top 10 scholars from senior classes of 7 JPS high schools, honored for excellence in education.
Read, read, read.
And that's what JPS is encouraging scholars to do with the summer reading cook-off.
Reading has changed my life in a lot of ways. We do this at the end of every school year. We have 19 schools that have been blessed to receive summer reading books from our WISE grant. Jackson State University, where they have purchased books for the remainder of our scholars. All of our scholars will receive a summer reading book.
Congratulations to Ida B. Wells APAC 5th grader Benjamin Hemmings, one of the top 5 finalists in the Doodle for Google competition.
I really like bees and they pollinate a lot of our crops.
His artwork, along with the logo designs of other contestant winners, eligible to be seen by hundreds of millions on the homepage of Google.
Come on, let's go, let's go.
The 2023-24 school year ended with a big splash, as JPS staff and faculty enjoyed an afternoon of food, fun, and fellowship at the Environmental Learning Center.
For more information about Jackson Public Schools, please visit our website at jackson.k12.ms.us. Follow us on Facebook at Jackson Public Schools, on Twitter at JPS District, Comcast channels 18 and 19, and YouTube at youtube.com/JPSITV.
As always, we want to thank the team for pulling those highlights together. Board members, as you can see, we have had just a wonderful culmination to this school year with all of the celebrations of our scholars, our top 10 scholars, the 30+ scholars, those who earned a 30 or more on the ACT, and of course our graduation ceremonies. It was really special, the ceremonies, and I know because you all had an opportunity to participate in those that I'm sure you joined me in celebrating our scholars. Before I get into the few remarks that I have, I do want to just lift up that, as you saw in the reel, we have begun our summer reading program. We're excited to, again, encourage our scholars to really dig in, to join us with reading over the summer and to keep their minds fresh, but also to explore and go to different places through literature, and just encourage all of our parents and community members, our churches, all of those who are around our scholars, to encourage them to read over the summer. And of course, to go to our website if you need some recommendations of titles for scholars. Also, our summer programming began this week, and so I had a chance to join. I was at Boyd Elementary School yesterday briefly, and so I know the scholars are excited to be in summer school. Parents are probably excited to have them back in school or in summer school, but this is definitely a summer program. So we've got them active, and they're singing songs and enjoying themselves, and so that's just wonderful to see. Always excited by that. Thank you also for those videos. I feel so scholarly in the regalia. Perhaps I'll start to wear that to board meetings. We'll see how that goes over. Board members, I want to take a moment to celebrate the class, again, the class of 2023. Our graduation marks the end of our scholars K-12 experience and the beginning of their next chapters in life, and that's whether it's college or trade and technical schools, the military, or joining the workforce. And during each of our graduation ceremonies, I had the opportunity to highlight the accomplishments of a few scholars, and just lift up a few of them here. Leroy Campbell from Wingfield High School completed the barbering program at the Career Development Center. And he will go on and begin his career, his new career, as a firefighter with the city of Jackson. So we are super excited for him and looking forward to his service and celebrating him as a public servant. Kendarius Wade from Callaway High School is a multi-sport athlete who recorded the fastest time in 5A, 100 meter and 200 meter in track and field, and he will attend the University of Louisiana Lafayette on a full athletic scholarship. So we celebrate him and super proud of him. And then lastly, Cherie Turner from Lanier High School, who scored a level 5 advanced on the U.S. History state exam, and she's also served as a tutor for her peers in U.S. History. So again, just really great to have these young people doing such wonderful things and to be able to call them out one by one. Just a few of the amazing scholars doing amazing things graduating this year. And our assistant superintendent for high schools, Ms. Lakeisha Marshall-Thomas, she'll join us now with just a few more highlights from this graduating class. And welcome Ms. Lakeisha Marshall-Thomas. Have you gotten any rest since graduations?
Not yet.
Okay, all right.
Just waiting.
All righty.
Good afternoon, everyone. Dr. Sivak, board members, Dr. Green. I just want to take this time to congratulate and just share some exciting information about the graduating class of 2023. And we call them our COVID rebels. Mm-hmm. These are the scholars that actually entered 9th grade when COVID made its grand appearance. Mm-hmm. So on May 30th and 31st, 1,351 scholars from all 7 JPS high schools crossed the finish line to become graduates and now alumni of the Jackson Public Schools. These graduates earned over $42,834,519 in scholarships. Outstanding. 49 scholars earned the Distinguished Academic Endorsement, which meant that these students had a 3.0 GPA or higher. They met all of the national ACT benchmarks. They graduated with 28 college credits. They completed and scored advanced on their coursework, and they also have completed the college prep curriculum electives. 51 of these scholars, of our scholars, also earned the academic endorsement, which meant that they had over 2.5 GPA. They met all of the IHL ACT benchmarks. They completed all of their advanced coursework, and they also completed the college prep curriculum courses. And then we had 38 scholars to earn our career technical endorsement, which meant that these scholars also had over 2.5 GPA, graduating with 25 credits. They scored silver on ACT work keys, and they also completed industry certification or their career pathway. So congratulations to these outstanding scholars. Additionally, this year we had 8 scholars to earn the Mississippi Seal of Biliteracy, which meant that these students scored proficient in both English and another world language. Awesome. This was our first year as well. Finally, we have 22 scholars from our JPS Tougaloo Early College High School to earn an Associate of Arts degree from Tougaloo College, ranging from computer science to biology, with 7 additional scholars earning over 60 hours of transferable college credits, with an overall class total of $7 million in scholarships. 12 of these scholars will continue their post-secondary education at Tougaloo College, with the remaining scholars having full rides to Alcorn, Belhaven, Dillard University, Louisiana State University, Mississippi College, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, and the University of Southern Mississippi, just to name a few. Each year, we do have a few scholars that need just a little extra time and support to meet graduation requirements by attending summer school. So we look forward to celebrating these scholars during our summer commencement on June 30th at 6:00 p.m. at Forest Hill High School in the new amphitheater. And finally, please pick up a copy of the latest edition of the Jackson Advocate, where they annually celebrate all of our scholars. So I did bring a copy, and you all will get a copy as well, but please pick up a copy of the Jackson Advocate. They do a really, really good job of highlighting all of our scholars and our graduates. These are our salutatorian and valedictorian and salutatorians, and then here, all of our top 10 scholars. Awesome. Yep. Please visit our JPS media outlets to see and learn more about the JPS graduates of 2023. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Marshall Thomas, and to the entire team, your high school team, but others and others throughout JPS who really showed up and supported. It's pretty awesome to see the way folks wrap their arms around the graduation experience, those ceremonies and all of that, to ensure that our scholars have amazing graduation experiences, to ensure that scholars up to the last moment have the requirements to graduate, have the shoes and the tassels and the robes and all those things that you just make happen up to the last moment, so that every possible graduate has a memorable and positive experience. We just so appreciate that. Kudos to you all. And lastly, to our scholars, our graduates, I annually do an address. At some point, I think they'll get tired of me. But I annually do an address, and this year I spoke specifically about dreams and encouraged the young people to dream big, audacious, bold dreams, and then create a plan and get some help to make those dreams come true. So we certainly want to continue to lift our graduates up and encourage them as they set forth in this big old world to conquer it and do great things. Lastly, board members, I want to talk a little bit about the third grade assessment, literacy assessment. The road to graduation does not begin, contrary to popular belief, it does not begin in high school. It actually begins in elementary, if not at home, before they start elementary with us. Therefore, we strive to build the foundation that each scholar needs to graduate high school successfully. The third grade MAAP English Language Arts assessment, our state assessment, is a summative assessment to determine the reading level of all of our scholars. We tested, there are 3 assessments, or 3 administrations of the reading assessment. After the second assessment, we had tested 1,473 scholars, and 1,156 of them have passed. That's after the second assessment, so that's 78.5%. It's just a couple of tenths of a percentage point below where we were last year this time. But our team, our teachers, our interventionists, everyone's wrapping their arms around our scholars to ensure that we get them there. We actually have more, although the percentage is lower, we tested more and we have more scholars who passed this year by the second assessment. So we're excited about that. The scholars who still need to pass the reading assessment have been encouraged to attend our A3 summer school camp experience. The teachers and interventionists and others will assist the scholars by providing some more targeted support to them around reading literature, reading informational text, which is often a challenge to our scholars, reading tables or articles or that sort of thing, and even in English language. And so instruction is provided in whole groups and small groups and individualized by scholar. Some of our third grade scholars, it should be noted, will be eligible for what we call a good cause exemption, and that could be a scholar with a particular special need, special learning need, or some other cause that would be allowable through the Mississippi Department of Education and wouldn't be required to pass the test, though we continue to support them, obviously, to ensure that they build their literacy skills. So the third assessment, the third and final assessment, will be given the week of June 19th. And so we're certainly thinking happy thoughts and positive thoughts for all of our scholars as they continue their work over the summer, and we know that many more of them will continue to see success with that. That concludes my remarks for this afternoon. We've got several items on the board agenda, so I want to end there and see if there are any questions for me, but that's all I have.
Thank you, Dr. Green. I do want to take the time to just shout out you and the team, everyone who had their hand in pulling the graduation ceremonies together. I was fortunate enough to attend the Lanier graduation, and it was beautiful. It's a privilege to be a part of it, and so I wanted to shout out the team. I actually am going to point of privilege. I was really inspired by Dr. Bradley's remarks, and so I brought them with me tonight. Mrs. Thompson was there with me, and there's just one paragraph, board members, which I thought was particularly appropriate for the work we have over the next year, and these are Dr. Bradley's words. She said to the Lanier graduates, she said, "Whatever you do, don't settle. If you don't go after what you want, you'll never have it. If you don't ask, the answer is always no. If you don't step forward, you'll always be in the same place. Today, step forward. Don't let the past define you. It's called the past for a reason. The best way to predict your future is to create it." So, again, just wanted to shout her out. Again, that's Dr. Bradley. We're giving her the round of applause. I want to be very clear about that. But it was, again, I just wanted to share that with all of you. And I'd invite any other board members, if they wanted to make any remarks about any of Dr. Green's comments or any of the ceremonies, and then we'll get on.
I thought Jim Hill and Irvine were great. It's always good. I love graduation. Great things to say. Everything's good.
Great. Thanks, Dr. Harrison.
Oh, never mind.
No, go ahead.
No, sometimes I might be inappropriate, so I won't say this.
All right.
But you know me. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. We'll take that as the signal to keep moving with the agenda. All right. Well, do we have any public comment? No public comment tonight. So just as a reminder, community members who would like to make public comments should email their requests to Ms. Rosalind Williams at roswilliams@jackson.k12.ms.us no later than 4 p.m. the day of the meeting, or appear in person in the boardroom no later than 5:15 on the day of the meeting. We'll now move on to our information-only items, part of the address. And as just a reminder, before I'll invite Ms. Robinson up, as she's coming up, anyone who wants to reach JPS board members can reach us through the JPS website where our emails are available. Ms. Robinson will now present the JPS bond and ESSER update.
Good evening, Dr. Seaback, board members, Dr. Green. The bond ESSER update tonight will be very brief. We're having summer kickoff projects. We'll also provide an update on the bond financial and some ESSER updates. So summer is under construction. We started kickoffs last week at Wells APAC with the restroom renovations, at Johns Hopkins with the restroom renovations and carpet removal, and also at Powell with restroom renovations and window replacements. This week, we kicked off the restroom renovations at Whitten, the HVAC replacement at Jim Hill, and also the renovations at Bailey. Upcoming in the next week or so, after we complete contracts, we'll be kicking off McLeod renovations, which will include restroom renovations, the board restroom renovations, board and green window replacements, and we have started that reconfiguration work at Lanier already. That started in May. We're doing some interior improvements in those wings that will house the 7th and 8th grade students. Johns Hopkins, the carpet looked like this. So the carpet is gone, and what we did prior to carpet removal is to do all the interior painting of the corridors. So we have a fresh look in the corridors, and the tile will be soon to be installed. We are really excited to show you some renderings of what Pecan Park is going to look like. We're thankful that the board agreed to allow us to move those students for a year so that work can continue there, and this is what the school will look like when we return next year. For the bond financials, we have expended or encumbered 95% of the funds. But as a reminder, the original bond was $65 million. So we've expended over 64.3%. So we've actually expended over 99% of the original bond. So we were able to get additional premiums from it and also interest. So the projects that are remaining are being paid from those premium and interest funds from the bond. Okay, I won't go through those 3 slides. So that gives the overall school-by-school breakout. So last bond update, we did provide an update on Jim Hill, and just to follow up, there was some concern shared by in the parent session about the restrooms on the 200 hall. So there was a drain line that was leaking to the 100 hall. That has been repaired by our plumbing staff, so that was a maintenance issue, and the restroom is back online. And then in the library office area, there was some ventilation that was not installed in one of the rooms, and it was missed by the design firm. That room is being added with HVAC with the current Jim Hill HVAC renovation project, and we are working with the design firm as far as what compensation will be refunded back to the district as far as missing that in the original design. And that concludes the update.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Robinson. Board members, any questions, comments? I'll just say thank you for the update on the Jim Hill projects. I know we brought those. Have those been communicated to the building leadership, to Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Okay, great.
To Mr. Brown.
Great.
And we actually had the kickoff Friday with him and the team so that work can start this week. So we were very excited.
Great, and great to hear work underway. And just thanks for the update. The rendering of Pecan Park is pretty exciting. So,
yes.
Thank you. All right, board members, next we have a review of the salary scale for 2023-2024 school year for Jackson Public School District. Dr. Green is going to present this information.
Thank you, Dr. Sivak. Board members, you have in your packet some information. They're going to pull up a slide. There it is, deck for me. But you've got some information that we're presenting now for information first, and then we'll come back at the next board meeting to to ask for your approval of this. But this is, and you can advance, really you can advance all the way to, yep, that's fine there. What we're presenting to you is the result of quite a bit of work over quite some time and some efforts to address what we've seen through earlier studies as just some real challenges with our compensation, specifically for our classified team members and what we call administrative classified team members as well. They're kind of two groups of folks, many of whom are on the operations side of the house. But our salaries and compensation packages simply have not been competitive with peer districts or with some comparable private employers. And so many of our folks we've seen and have heard anecdotally have seen other opportunities at stores or restaurants or what have you to earn more than they were able to earn with us. And so we certainly are working to be more competitive with our salaries and to retain our team members, especially those who are doing really good work and have been with us for some time. And also we want to just represent in our budgeting and in our salaries and compensation the true cost of labor. We've been a bit behind, and frankly, what we've been budgeting and what we've been offering is not the true cost of the labor to do the work that we expect folks to do throughout our district, and that's from our custodial team, our accountants in the back offices, our trades folks, plumbers and electricians, all of these people that we work so hard to try to find and maintain. You can move on to the next. Actually, yours are not kept. Go on to slide 8. Keep going. Right there. Nope. Thank you. So just want to cut to the chase. The changes that and there are two scales that we're kind of highlighting here this evening. The changes that we're proposing and asking for your support around really speak to these things here. One, we've tried to reduce the number of pay bands, and you'll see the visual of the pay scale for classified hourly workers. From 15 levels to 11 levels, really just trying to align and condense it to make better sense. Each band was also increased by $1 per hour over the previous scale that we have in place. The pay steps were also expanded. We began at step 0 and end at step 30, giving us more room to increase and to recognize the work that our folks are doing and increases over time. Each step is a 30 cent increase over the previous step, and band A, step 0, begins at $10.50 an hour, which is a $2 increase over where we started previously. That's your shouting point. It's a $2 increase over where we were before, and we're excited to offer this. We know that there's more that we want and need to do. We want to remain competitive, and so we'll keep our eyes on our salary scales and that. But this is a huge shift from where we were with a $2 increase at the starting point for our classified hourly scale. Also, and we'll just flash the scale in just a moment, but the position where folks are placed on the scale from left to right, it ranks from by skill and education and responsibilities from lower to higher, and so we've tried to differentiate that. And if you'll go on to the next slide. You can't really see this from afar, but board members, I believe you have this in your packet, and so you'll see where we've where we've assigned certain positions to different pay bands, A, B, C, D, on up to the highest, and you'll see where how we've differentiated between the skill levels and therefore the corresponding pay. The next slide. The next scale is our administrative scale, and again, these are not our principals. These are our directors, could be director of payroll or data, or some of the other positions that we have throughout the district. Pay bands have been unchanged, so they remain as they were, though we've reduced the types of positions included there. And some of the operations positions were consolidated to more common bands where appropriate. Again, just trying to clean it up and trying to make it more readily accessible, readable, and usable. The pay steps increased in this newly proposed scale to meet the 2023 exempt status salary threshold. We just want to make sure that what we're offering as the base salary for these folks, that we meet the new requirements of the law. So step levels under Band A increased from 27,200 to 35,600. Step levels under B, Band B increased from 32,000 to 36,000. And those increases between steps remain unchanged. So again, an effort to increase our pay where they're salaried. We attempted to do about a 5% increase for team members. Again, the position placement on the scales increased from left to right based on the skill and education and responsibility requirements. The last slide, and this is just you can go to the next slide. This just shows the scale to folks who don't have them. The scale. And then the next slide. This shows where under those different pay bands we've placed different positions. And so you'll see the differentiation, for example, for our team members who might be entry-level journeymen or tradesmen up to supervisors and master tradesmen, to again try to attract our folks with those skills and to retain folks with those skills, because they're being poached, and we need them. As you can tell, we've got tons of facility challenges and opportunities there. So I wanted to walk through that a bit with you, board members and to stakeholders who are here. We're excited to be bringing this. Obviously, this will be built into, and you'll see this reflected in the budget, as was mentioned earlier in the budget hearing, and when the budget is presented next board meeting. But we're excited that we're moving on these salaries and hopeful that we'll have your support with these. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Dr. Green. Board members, any questions, comments? Hearing none, I'll just say, Dr. Green, thank you to you and your team for all the work that went into putting this together. I want to just lift up appreciation for really looking at the part of the pay scale where I think we needed to do the most. And so, obviously, it's never, we always want to do more. We have resource constraints, but I do want to lift up that this is enough to be at least meaningful. Mm-hmm. And so, again, want to just thank the team for putting it together, and also all the work that went in the budget to pay for it, and that work will be continued. It's not just about this year, but this is a commitment that rolls well into the future as well as we build budgets in the out years. Thank you for all the work that went into it.
Thank you, Dr. Sivak, absolutely. And Mr. Burke and his team, and Dr. Merritt and the HR team, did a ton of work along with other executive and senior leadership folks just to inform this and trying to lay eyes on it over and over to make sure we're not missing anything and just to do the very best we could to demonstrate to our folks that we need them and we value them. This may be the largest increase that we've done relative to our classified team members. And I know it's the largest we've done since I've been here. I don't know when we made a larger increase. And so hopefully folks see this as a signal.
And we're ready to support it when it comes before the next board meeting.
Thank you.
Surely we want to hold on to our good people.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, we don't want to grow them up and then someone else snatches them up simply because of the funding. Salaries.
Amen.
So much better somewhere else.
And and I don't want to go long on this, but as we kind of, to your point, as we just thinking about the pathway, career pathway, we've got these awesome career development center pathways and trades, technical pathways that we're training our young people on. And so looking forward to being able to maintain some of those young people as they move into the world of work with those industry certifications, to work with us as plumbers, as electricians, perhaps even in our bus depot as automotive techs. There are opportunities right here. So we want to certainly be competitive with others in order to keep the young people who come through our programs.
Yeah.
Wonderful. All right, well, next we'll move on to the review of school improvement benchmark results. We'll invite up Dr. McDonald to share this. I was going to say, it's not Dr. McDonald. Is that?
Dr. Scott.
I thought it was Dr. Regini Scott, and I'm just reading my script. I need to pay attention. Dr. Scott, please, we look forward to the presentation.
Good evening, Board President Dr. Sivak, Dr. Green, board members. The Jackson Public School District Office of School Support presents for information purposes only school year 2022-23 school improvement updates for schools that are identified as CSI and comprehensive support and improvement. Captured in each report, you will find the overall school proficiency goals, benchmark assessment proficiency results, and student enrollment and attendance data.
All right, thank you, Dr. Scott. Board members, are there any questions about the information that was shared with us for this meeting? I have one or two. And I always keep coming back. I'm always asking about middle schools, and so just going to continue to do that and just kind of just check in and see, you know, how did you feel that the strategies that we implemented around middle school improvement, how did they work this year? Are there any thoughts around things that we may change as we move into next year?
So we've begun working with Dr. Evans, and we are initiating some new initiatives for school improvement specific to our middle schools. And so we're going to be doing a little shift there. It's also going to impact what we do with our Title I funds as well. So we have a few things that we're working on together. We've already budgeted for school improvement and Title I for next year, so we will be happy to roll out and provide more information about that if I can bring it to the next board meeting.
That would be great. Yeah. And so it sounds like we've got some new leadership, and it sounds like we're going to be making intentional investments with our title dollars as well. Okay. Great. I see Dr. Cormick jumped up.
Good evening. Just too brief to amplify the point Dr. Scott made. Consistent across all middle schools, utilizing title dollars. We'll be instituting a dean of students at each of the middle schools to support some of the cultural goals, so that we'll be able to go a bit more deeply in supporting attendance, behavior and course performance for scholars, and to kind of amplify those behavioral supports. Additionally, several schools within the middle school division have reached out about in-school suspension rather than out-of-school suspension so that scholars can continue to be engaged. With the introduction of devices several years ago, it's now possible for a scholar to be in a room supervised by an in-school suspension teacher, but with headphones on and continuing to receive the instruction so that that's not an opportunity lost when students misbehave. And then finally, just lifting supports across the middle school division, we're looking to replicate the structure that has been created by the REAP program, which primarily serves our high school scholars. It does additionally support some 8th grade students, but we're looking to replicate a fast track program and have been engaged our middle school scholars in empathy interviews, thinking about those students that are overage at middle school and how we might provide a supportive program. So we've identified a hallway at Witten Middle School to support scholars across the district who are overage, to put them back on a pathway to high school graduation. And so we believe that those measures, utilizing the school improvement dollars and title dollars, will help to support bringing more of our middle school scholars on the pathway to proficiency.
That's actually very helpful. On the Dean of Students, is that another, and I'm supportive of it, and even if it's another FTE, so I want to just put that out there before I even put my question on it. Is it another layer of administrative support, or is it just reprogramming a position in the building?
It is an additional layer of quasi-administrative support around school culture. And so the particular focus is not simply punitive, but is around the support structure. So one of the initiatives that many of the Dean of Students currently support are early warning system, identifying scholars when they start to fall off track and have missed a number of days. You have a lead person, a point of contact, helping to coordinate some of that work in partnership with the fully academic side, and we're working in tandem to do that. But that would be a new FTE, but it would be supported federally, and we want to incorporate that into the title plan such that should district budgets change or fluctuate, that's not an FTE that is immediately at risk for a cut.
Okay, that's great. And that was really you got to my question. I was around if it's an additional FTE, which I think I'm supportive of that. And obviously thought about how to pay for it. So that's solid as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you repeat? You mentioned about the overage students. Can you repeat that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So broadly, we've had a number of scholars. This has been an ongoing issue, but made more acute by the pandemic, where we had some scholars that were not engaged during the period where we were engaged in remote learning. And so we currently have the REAP program, which supports overage scholars, secondary scholars. And what we found the need in looking at data is that we do have students whose chronological age doesn't match their grade placement. And so for students who are 2 or more years behind, where they may have been retained, or when they return to school, they may not have had a previous retention, we needed a focused program specifically to address the needs of the middle school scholar. And so what we designed is what we are calling the Fast Forward program, where students at Witten Middle School and across Witten would be the host of this program, but we'll have a hall and a coordinated set of teachers who work with overage middle school scholars. And essentially they'll operate on a 4x4 block and be presented with grade level content for one grade in the semester. And through the 4x4 block, we've worked the schedule such that they can complete a grade within a semester and then complete another grade within the next semester, so that they're closing and narrowing the gap of being behind, with the goal of getting them back on track and closer to their grade level cohort, such that they can go to their neighborhood high school and be on track without the need for extensive remediation.
Very good. Thank you.
Any other questions, board members? All right, thank you, Dr. Scott. All right, next we will move on to our review of policy FB. For amendment, Attorney Moore will present this information.
Good evening, Board President Dr.
evening.
Sivak, Board members, Superintendent Dr. Green. The Office of the General Counsel is recommending for information only amendment of Policy FB, Long Range Facility Planning. The thought behind the amendment of this policy was to amend it for consistency so that it read the same throughout the policy, and to clarify that the superintendent would implement plans and then present those plans to the board. Are there any questions?
I'll just add for this this policy, board members, we actually, this was flagged for us as we were working through the recent proposal for school closure, for consolidation, and specifically for the long-term relocations. And so we thought in this policy it wasn't exactly clear like how to bring those to you. Is this something that the superintendent was supposed to develop, the board was supposed, the language simply wasn't clear. And so just to flag that that's the impetus for this piece being brought to you, for just to try and tighten the language. Ultimately, you hold me responsible for coming to you with a plan that makes sense.
Thank you, Dr. Green. Thank you, Attorney Moore. Board members, any questions? Dr. Green, I do have a question. So if the amended policy were in effect through the most recent round of school closures, school relocations, school consolidation, can you walk through how it would have informed decision points?
So the challenge in the current language prior to any amendment is that it could be read, the policy could be read differently from different perspectives. The way we interpreted it is the way that we behaved. That the school closure requires board decision, that a reconfigure requires a board approval, but that this part around responding to emergencies or a more temporary move, that doesn't necessarily require board decision. And so that's a specific part there where we were going back and forth. Is this, what does this require? Especially given the way that we behave in other cases. We don't have water. Do I need a board decision to temporarily relocate scholars, or the power is out, or what have you? Do I need a decision from the board to temporarily relocate scholars? That's not how we typically behave. And so in keeping with that behavior, that's how we interpreted the policy. We wanted to make sure that the language here, that we all agree that the language here says, well, the way we were interpreting. Does that make sense? Anything you'd add for further clarity?
I would. The policy, as stated, read, it said two different things. In one part of the policy, it said the superintendent would implement, and it came back down at the bottom, and then it said the board would implement. So for consistency throughout the policy, we mimicked the first language in the first paragraph, which said the superintendent would implement the plans and then make sure we had provision for those plans to be presented to the board in policy.
Right. The only question, comment, and I know the policy committee has reviewed this as well, is around this temporary relocation. So we've got multiple schools that I guess are under long-term temporary relocations. So we know Jim Hill is temporarily located to Isabel, and then I'm not going to run through the whole list. You've got Bailey, which is temporarily going into its third year of temporary relocation. So in that scenario, is it an administrative decision, like in the instance of Bailey, versus a board decision?
The way we read it is an administrative, but obviously I come to the board for with a plan and invite and expect that y'all will say, hey, this makes sense, or there seems to be a hole in this, or what have you. That's the way we've read it. That's the way we've read it.
Okay. So in this instance, there would need to be a plan presented before action was taken. Is that the correct read of the policy?
Ask that again, I'm sorry.
It doesn't fully address that, a plan.
Okay.
So you may.
I didn't hear what the attorney answer was to you, Dr. Sivak.
Can you say that again, Dr. Harrison?
Attorney Turner said it's not addressed.
Oh, I said, well, it's not addressed in the policy, at least as it's written now. Right now, it only talks about the superintendent developing and implementing the plans, to the extent that what you're being told is that the board would approve the plans, that the superintendent would then go and implement. That language isn't in there. So I think if you want that clear, that that is how it would work, that the policy should be revised to reflect that. That the superintendent would develop for the board's approval the plans regarding whatever, and then implement those plans after the board had approved it.
And just to, further on that, the board has an employee, and in the superintendent evaluation, there's constant reference to develops a plan to, ensures that, et cetera, et cetera. All sorts of things around planning for the budget, planning for the daily education of scholars, et cetera, et cetera. There are clearly some things in our policy that that are kind of reserved for the board. You make a decision on X, Y, or Z, but we're just trying in this instance to ensure that the things that are not clearly called out, that it very clearly rests with the superintendent to make these things happen, absent a carve-out for the board to specifically approve, like the budget, or approve a school closure.
And so this policy, just again looking at it, is anytime there's renovations or new construction, there would need to be plans presented in those scenarios. And so we okay.
Yep. The language, I apologize, we didn't share. I don't think we shared with you the track change. The language in the next to last paragraph, as Attorney Moore stated, we substituted for the next to last statement, which now reads, the superintendent or his designee will develop and implement plans based on da-da-da-da. It formally stated the board will develop plans. That has never been a responsibility of the board, not to develop your budget, not to develop even the strategic plan. The board is engaged in that process. The board ultimately approves of that process, but the board doesn't develop plans.
Okay. Is that the only change to the policy? Is that word?
Yeah, I'm going to walk you around here, but also to my previous statement, the beginning of the policy says it's the responsibility of the school board to ensure that the superintendent or his designee develops plans. So the change that we made was to mimic the language again in the first, in that first paragraph to be consistent.
Okay, I see. Sorry. All right, thank you. And apologize, I didn't bump them up against each other.
And we should have given you that. Apologies on our part.
Okay. Okay. This is very helpful. Okay. Can we make the first sentence gender neutral as well?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
All right. I'm good. Are there any other questions by the board? Thank you for this. This is helpful.
I will make that change before we bring it back to you for info action.
Okay. Perfect. All right. Next, we will move on to, thank you, Attorney Moore and Dr. Green and Attorney Turner. We'll move on to a review of the job description for arts coordinator. Dr. Grigsby will present this information.
Good evening, Dr. Seebeck, board members, Dr. Green. I'm bringing forth for information the approval of the job description for the art coordinator. The Office of the Deputy Superintendent recommends that the job description for the art coordinator be approved as a new administrative position. The position will require applicants to have a degree in educational leadership, and hiring a qualified individual to fill this role will help support art advocacy in the school, district, and community. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Dr. Gregson. Board members, any questions about this position? Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Next, we will move on to the review of the renewal agreement between 806 Technologies, Title I CRATE, and JPS. Dr. Scott will present this information.
Good evening again.
Good evening.
The administration recommends review of the agreement for 806 Technologies, Title I CRATE, for maintaining, managing, and monitoring of our federal compliance documentation.
Thank you, Dr. Scott. Board members, are there any questions about this information? Thank you, Dr. Scott. Next, we will move on to a review of the agreement between Progress Learning and the Jackson Public School District. Dr. Scott will present this as well.
The administration is recommending review of the service agreement for Progress Learning. Progress Learning provides a bank of standards aligned assessments for 3rd through 8th grade and for our Algebra, English 2, Biology 1, U.S. History, and all relevant AP and IB courses.
Thank you, Dr. Scott. Board members, are there any questions? I had one on this one. Is the focus of this around achievement for the state test, and is AP an externality of that, or is AP performance also a driving factor in this recommendation?
All are driving factor. These assessments allow students to practice throughout the school year in preparation for our state assessments and any other courses.
Okay, that's very helpful. And then I know there's a robust professional development that goes on throughout the year, and specifically focusing on the AP section of this. Will there be training for teachers who are teaching AP courses to integrate it into their instruction?
Yes, sir. So we will have Progress Learning at our Teacher Institute in July. We have sessions for that. And then Ms. Blackshear, our Director of Evaluation, she will also host some virtual and some on-site trainings throughout the year as refresher courses. So we will have some professional development.
Great. Thank you. All right. Thanks, Dr. Scott. Next, we'll move on to the review of the agreement between Hinds County Human Resource Agency and Dr. Bingham Gibbs will be presenting the next several items.
Good evening, Dr. Seebeck, Dr. Green, board members. The Office of Exceptional Education Services is presenting for information only the renewal collaborative agreement between Hinds County Human Resource Agency and the Jackson Public School District. The purpose of this agreement is to define the collaboration roles and responsibilities and the transition activities of Hinds County Human Resource Agency, Head Start, and Jackson Public School District.
Thank you, Dr. Bingham Gibbs. Board members, are there any questions? I had one question on this one. I know we've got multiple Head Start collaborative agreements. I think there's multiple ones within, and maybe it's just with Hinds County. It's just with Hinds County. And so this question is specific to Isabel. I know there was a Head Start program at Isabel, and I know there's some movement this year. Did that move to one of the elementary schools as well?
It's going to be at Van Winkle.
It's at Van Winkle. Okay, I had forgotten that. Thank you for that clarification. All right. Well, next we'll move on to the review of the agreement between Willowwood Developmental Center and the Jackson Public School District.
Okay. The Office of Exceptional Education Services is submitting for review the renewal collaborative agreement between Jackson Public School District and the Willowwood Developmental Center in order to facilitate a cooperative working agreement to better help students experiencing disabilities make a smooth transition from JPS classrooms at graduation into Willowwood Adult Program classrooms.
Thank you, Dr. Bingham-Gibbs. Board members, are there any questions about the Willowwood agreement, Willowwood Developmental Center agreement? Okay. Next, we'll move on to the review of the agreement between Canopy Cares and Canopy's Care School and Jackson Public School District.
The Office of Exceptional Education Services is presenting for review the renewal agreement between Canopy Care School and the Jackson Public School District. The purpose of this agreement is to establish working procedures between JPS and Canopy Care School and the provision of services for children with disabilities pursuant with their individual education plans.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Bingham-Gibbs. Board members, are there any questions? Hearing none, we can move on to the review of the agreement between Core Learning and JPS.
The Office of Exceptional Education Services is presenting for review the renewal agreement between Core Learning, LLC, Jane Hardy, the teacher of students with visual impairments, and the Jackson Public School District. The purpose of this agreement is to establish working procedures between Jackson Public School District and Core Learning and provision of services for children eligible for those services that are visually impaired.
Thank you, Dr. Bingham-Gibbs. Board members, are there any questions? Hearing none, we can move on to the review of the agreement between Special Olympics Unified Champion School Program and JPS.
Okay. Lastly, the Office of Exceptional Education Services in the Middle School Division is presenting for the board to review a proposal to implement the Special Olympics Unified Champion Schools Program in Jackson Public Schools. Becoming a Special Olympics Unified Champion School is a commitment to inclusion, acceptance, and respect for all students.
Thank you, Dr. Bingham-Gibbs. Board members, are there any questions, comments?
No question, just a comment. I was glad to see that on there because I know Madison has always had an excellent Special Olympic program. The lady who worked with that program, Annie Candler, died about a year ago. But it was an excellent program, and it was always like, we are larger than they are, so why don't we have that program too? You know, we want everything that's good for JPS, so great.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Hilliard. Just want to echo that. I believe Special Olympics was involved with the ribbon cutting at Hughes Field, and that was a wonderful way to just, just mark the opening of that space in a really inclusive way. And I would just ask, and this is just on a personal note, and Ms. Williams, I may direct this towards you because you schedule us, is when there are events for Special Olympics, if you could just let board members know so we can, if we're available, just have the option to be there.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And thank you for all your work on all of these programs, which ensure that all of our scholars get the best that we have to offer. Next, we'll have the review of the agreement between Mobile Medic Ambulance Services and AMR Response. What did you call him, Ms. Hilliard?
I should say Mr. DJ. That's how I knew him in school.
So Mr. DJ or Coach Jones will present the information.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, school board, Dr. Green, Mrs. Hilliard, and our colleagues. The Department of Athletics is presenting for information only the AMR services for the 23-24 school year. We want to, if a scholar athlete is injured during the game, we would like the AMR to receive, and we like the injured party to receive immediate medical attention from highly qualified personnel. The AMR, we have a total of 75 football games, middle school and high school football games. And the maximum charge for those games is $326.04. That's what for high school games, and that is up $5 from last year. And the minimum charge is $202.95. That is a $10 increase from last year as well. There's a range of varying I guess, options that they may send depending on who's available and if an ambulance is available or a truck is available for the athletic event. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Coach Jones. Board members, any questions or comments? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we will move on to the review of the agreement between the Jackson Convention Center Complex and Jackson Public School District. Mr. Frederick Brown, U.S. Colonel, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Colonel Frederick Brown.
Good evening, Dr. Sivak, school board members, and Dr. Green. The recommendation action, Jackson Public School JRTC program plans to conduct its 11th annual Consolidated Military Gala at the Jackson Convention Center Complex on the 15th of December, 2023. The license agreement for this event is presented for your review and approval. Justifications and the rationale. It is a requirement that we conduct the annual military gala as our JRTC curriculum requires. Also, we would know that all the JRTC students in JRTC through all our 7 high schools will be participating in this event. Also, it would be a very dignified and highly enjoyable event for all attendees. The cost per this year would be $36. And I just want to thank each and every one of you all for coming out and supporting us this past December in our gala. We had approximately 936 attendees. We're anticipating another 900 on the 15th of December. So please come out and support our students. Again, like Dr. Green says, it's all about getting our scholars exposed and following their dream. And just for your information, Ms. Hilliard, just let you know that this summer we have 257 students participating in over seven STEM camps this summer. That's the National Flight Academy in Pensacola, Florida, Mississippi State University at Leader State, William Carey, JCLC at Camp Shelby, Jackson State University STEM program, and the Jackson Municipal Airport Authority's aviation training. And finally, Mr. Robert Smith, Foundation 2 in Colorado. He is paying for 8 of our students to attend there. We have 4 students there now, and 4 will be going in July. He also is paying for those parents to fly out there and participate in that program for those students. So thank you all for your, and subject to your question, sir.
Is that Robert Smith with Vista Equity Partners?
Yes, sir. He's a billionaire. That's the one I'm talking about.
All right. Good deal.
Subject to your question, sir.
Yeah, I have no more questions. You answered my question. Thank you. All right. Next, we have a review of the agreement between Cox Medical and Wellness Clinics and the Jackson Public School District. Ms. Amanda Thomas will present this information.
Good evening. Board members, Dr. Sivak, Dr. Green. The administration presents to you a review of an approval of a memorandum of agreement between Jackson Public Schools and Cox Medical and Wellness Clinics, LLC. The purpose of this agreement is to establish a guided working relationship between Cox Medical and Wellness Clinics and Jackson Public Schools District. Cox Medical and Wellness Clinics will provide health services to students through the use of a mobile unit. The following services will be provided: physical examinations to include height, weight, mass index, flu vaccinations, and referrals to special clinics. They would extend these medical services to schools in the Wingfield feeder pattern: Key Elementary, Lester Elementary, Marshall, Shirley Elementary, Sykes Elementary, Wilkins Elementary, Whitten Middle School, Peoples Middle School, and Wingfield High School. Present with us this evening are Ms. Yuri Cox, who is the CEO of Cox Medical and Wellness Clinics, Ms. Renee Gaston, as well as Ms. Clark, who are assisting as well with the coordination and efforts, and they're always willing to assist us with our scholars in any way that they're needed. They've already supplied us with several physical examinations under the leadership of Dr. Robert Smith and with their affiliation with our previous health partner.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Thomas. And thank you for being with us here tonight and for all the work that you do for our scholars. Board members, are there any questions, comments?
Just one quick question. Is this like sports physicals too?
Sports physical, yes, and as I stated, they have already conducted many because they were affiliated with Choices for Children, who would no longer be able to extend their services to the district. So with their affiliation with the same medical director of Robert Smith, they're able to do this for us with Jackson Public Schools. So yes, ma'am, they provided several within our schools. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next, we will move on to the review of the renewal agreement between Mississippi Food Network and the Jackson Public School District. Ms. Thea Faulkner, our Director of Partners in Education, will present this information.
Great evening, Dr. Sivak, board members, Dr. Green. The administration provides for your review for information action only a renewal of the Mississippi Food Network's agreement. At no cost to the district, Mississippi Food Network provides the school pantry program. Weekly and or monthly non-perishable food items are offered to scholars and our families in need. Specific school sites will be selected on available fiscal sponsors as identified by Mississippi Food Network, as well as express needs from various school sites. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Faulkner.
Yes,
Board
sir.
members, any questions? I have one question, Ms. Faulkner. In the prep materials, there was a reference to a meeting held with parent coordinators to just gain feedback from the participating. I wondered if you had any high points from the feedback that was shared there.
What we have observed is middle school children have struggles with accepting the packages. So we've actually reached out to a community partner where the parents are able to go to the site and pick up food items. There's just an issue when they get to that age at the school, and we don't want to make anyone uncomfortable, but we want to make sure that we meet the need. So we've decided to discontinue the distributions through the parent center coordinators at the middle schools, but we want to make sure that we're still providing resources. So we've reached out to another organization who has agreed to share flyers with us. We will provide the flyers to the families. The families can actually go and pick up from the off-site location.
That's great. That's actually really helpful. I wondered, because there is that distinguishing piece. That's helpful feedback in terms of input. And that's, thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, board members, any other questions? If not, we'll move on to the review of the renewal agreement between Junior League of Jackson and Jackson Public School District.
Yes, sir. So Junior League of Jackson, of course, is an amazing partner for us. They provide supports in many, many levels. But for tonight, the administration is recommending, again, a review for information action only on two programs. One is the I Read More with My Buddy program. Volunteers provide tutoring to second and third graders, as well as additional reading resources for use at McWillie Elementary School.
Thank you, Ms. Faulkner. Board members, any questions, comments? Thank you.
Okay. The second program is the Teacher Mini Grants. In partnership with the Educational Foundation Trust, held by the Community Foundation of Mississippi, Junior League of Jackson provides an average of $100,000 annually. Teachers apply for competitive grants for up to $10,000 to implement innovative ideas to enhance our scholars' educational experiences. So individual classroom teachers can write a grant for up to $3,000. If they're interested in a grade level or a subject matter, English or whatever, they can write for up to $5,000. And if the idea will impact the entire school, they can write for up to $10,000. So it basically says to teachers, teachers say, I have an idea, we need money, Junior League provides the money.
Thank you. Board members, any questions? What's your favorite project that we funded last year?
Ooh.
Great question.
Very good question. I like the grants that allow for us to have a wider range of literacy materials. We have individuals that have encouraged families to support libraries at home or just more reading materials. There's been such a focus, and that's in line with one of Junior League's primary priority areas, early literacy. So it's just exciting to see the various ways they offer it. Those are always good, but I think my favorite is probably the STEM. We had a teacher who actually ordered drones and a lot of STEM materials. It was exhausting with the supply chains to get them. We had to be very creative and asked for grace from Mr. Burke for the way we normally handle orders. But that was very innovative and really gave us an opportunity to bring some additional resources into the classrooms.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes, sir.
I don't know that I would have known we had students working with drones had you not shared that, so thank you.
Yes.
All right. I think that, any more questions? All right. Thank you for all you do with the partners. I know you're a legend in the community for all you bring into the district and connect with our scholars and their families.
Thank you, Dr. Sivak. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. All right. Next, we'll move on to the review of the renewal agreement between Parents for Public Schools Jackson and Jackson Public School District. Dr. Smith.
All right, good evening.
Good evening.
Board President Sivak, our board members, Superintendent Green, our JPS family. The administration is requesting approval for the renewal agreement between Parents for Public Schools and the Jackson Public School District for our Asking for More Arts programs.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. Board members, are there any questions, comments? I had one question and one comment. There was on the prep materials, there was reference, I believe, to a summative evaluation, and wondered if we had gotten that information or had any observations from this work over the last year.
So at the conclusion of school, Ms. Gardner will provide that information to us, so we'll make sure that you get that update some of the information.
Okay. Did we not get, this is a renewal agreement, is
Yes,
that right? So we just haven't gotten it yet for this year?
We haven't gotten it yet from this year.
Okay, great.
But I will make sure you have it.
Okay, looking forward to it. And then the only other one, this is a technical piece, and it may be for Attorney Turner. I think in the budget section of the agreement, it may be running through June of 2023. Does that matter for, yeah, it runs August 2022 to June 2023. I think the numbers are the same. I just didn't know if that, it's page, keep going, right there. If you see how it's through June 2023, do we need to amend that if we're approving it?
It's for information only.
It's information only. Perfect. That's why we do it this way. All right.
Okay.
Great.
Get that update.
Okay. Thank you.
And make sure you have that report too as well.
Okay, great.
Okay. And so the next item for information only is our renewal agreement between the Mississippi Symphony Orchestra and Jackson Public School District for our strings program in schools.
Thank you. Board members, any questions or comments on this one?
It should be 20.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Smith.
Okay.
Need to correct the exhibit.
I believe
I got the next one.
you got the next one. You sure do. All right. Well, that concludes our information only section of the board meeting. And so we will move on to information action items. So board members, we will be taking action on these, and there are a number moving forward. Dr. Smith will share the request to approve the memorandum of understanding between Mississippi Department of Education and Education and Residence Program in Jackson Public School District.
All right. The administration is requesting approval of the MOU between MDE and the Mississippi Department of Education Educators and Residents Program and Jackson Public Schools. And this year, we have one EIR resident.
Great. Thank you. Board members, are there any questions or comments? One question on this one. I'll save this one for later. I'm not going to ask it on this one.
Okay.
So board members, is there a motion to approve?
I so move.
Second.
Ms. Hilliard has moved. Mrs. Thompson has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 The motion carries. Thank you, Dr. Smith. Next, we have the request to approve the amended renewal agreement between Kids College and the Jackson Public School District. Dr. Corbin, this information.
It's like the microphone disappeared.
Did it go through a hole?
Fell right through the hole. All right, we're gonna keep the party going. Good evening once again.
I just want to make sure that the public can, yeah,
folks can hear.
Yeah.
You're online.
It fell right through. All right. There we go.
Great.
The administration recommends the approval of the amended renewal agreement for Kids College, which is a partnership with Jackson State University for our A3 summer camp. This amendment aims to add suggested language from the Office of the General Counsel at Jackson State to include precisely the Mississippi Institutions of Higher Learning on behalf of Kids College program and other Mississippi codes. It has been reviewed by Attorney Turner, and you'll notice that it was previously board approved. These revisions also include recent school reconfigurations, inclusive of the shift of the program to Clausell instead of Johnson Elementary School.
Thank you, Dr. Cormick. Board members, are there any questions, comments? If not, is there a motion to approve?
I so move.
I move.
Was that Dr. Harrison that moved?
I thought Ms. Thompson.
Ms. Thompson?
No, it was Letitia.
Okay. Mrs. Johnson has moved. Ms. Hilliard has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
The motion carries. Thank you, Dr. Cormick. We'll invite Dr. Knowles up. He'll present the next two items. We'll take them up together. The first is the request to approve the engagement with, I'll need your help with the pronunciation.
Yes, sir. I'm going to do the best that I can. I think it's Dara Miatka.
Okay.
We'll go with that. Good evening, Dr. Green, President CVAC, members of the board. The administration is seeking approval of the engagement with immigration attorneys Dara Miatka for processing of an H-1B visa request for a teacher in the critical need area of science. And this teacher will be placed at Jim Hill High School.
Great. Board members, are there any questions, comments? I just ask, if you engage them, can we just find out how to say their name, especially if it comes before us again? Just want to make sure we respect that. So hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
I so move.
We're taking it together.
Thank you. We are going to take it up together. Thank you. All right, I'm sorry. Next, we do have a request to approve the amendment between EduStars and JPS. Dr. Knowles.
Absolutely. So we're seeking approval of the amendment to the agreement between EduStars LLC and the Jackson Public School District. This agreement is to provide practice preparation for teachers within Jackson Public Schools. The amendment includes the addition of 88 additional participants to the current year's agreement.
Thank you, Dr. Knowles. Board members, any additional questions, comments? I had one question on this one. It looks like it's a fairly large investment that we're making to get teachers certified through this. Is there a requirement for teachers who get this assistance to stay for a certain amount of time?
Yes, sir. For 2 years, if we assist them in helping them to pass and receive their certification in the area, we just require that they remain with the district for 2 years teaching in the area of certification.
Great, thank you. Any other questions, board members? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve items C and D?
I so move.
Second.
Ms. Hilliard has moved, Mrs. Thompson has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries. Thank you, Dr. Knowles. Next, we have the request to approve the CTE local application for fiscal year 2024. Dr. Eric Cook, the principal of the Career Development Center, will present this information.
Good evening, Dr. Sivak.
Good evening.
Board members, Dr. Green. The administration is recommending approval of the CTE local application for fiscal year 2024. The local application allows our district to continue offering career and technical education services in accordance with the state plan under the Carl D. Perkins Act. The local application was developed using the estimated funding notice and current MSIS data.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Cook. Board members, are there any questions, comments? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Thompson has moved. Ms. Hilliard has seconded. All in favor? Aye. The motion carries. Next, we have Dr. Cormack will present items F and G. The first is the request to approve award bid 3214 to Alliance Technology Group, security equipment for JPS high schools. Dr. Cormack.
Good evening once again. The administration recommends awarding bid 3214 to Alliance Technology Group for security equipment. It's essential that in our district, our scholars feel a sense of safety each day as they enter our school buildings. Based on the comprehensive needs assessment that we just administered, a number of our scholars, faculty, and surveyed parents feel there is a need for enhanced security at their school or district to provide that safe environment that we've lifted in our strategic plan. One strategy that we would like to implement is to improve that school safety in purchasing these enhanced security equipment for our high school and sports facilities. High schools have been selected due to the higher number of weapons that have been confiscated. As well, if we see that this strategy is effective in our high schools, we would look to replicate it in middle schools next. It will significantly reduce the amount of intake time as we process and move scholars through metal detectors.
Thank you, Dr. Cormack. Board members, are there any questions, comments?
Are there districts in the immediate area who have this program?
Not in our immediate metropolitan area, but nationally, some of our larger urban school districts, particularly in the Council of Great City Schools, have adopted this kind of strategy.
Yeah.
What kind of feedback did they share around it? And maybe even before you go there, could you describe exactly what we're buying?
Yeah, so I think what would be perhaps most helpful is to share a video with you, a demonstration. They have a 30-second video, but imagine an airport scanner where you can walk through, and the enhanced detection system is calibrated such that it won't cause a person to have to remove their cell phone, but it can distinguish between a cell phone and some other type of weapon. And so there are these vertical units that scholars would walk through, and they can accommodate multiple folks to walk through at a time, and then beep, and there's a person that would monitor a screen and signal if a person has a device. And so, of course, we would calibrate those devices, we would engage in practice, but it just really helps to reduce and narrow the amount of time for physical bag searches, and then also to speed the time at which a device can be confiscated if it is brought in. We also know that if scholars engage in this and that the devices work and work exceptionally, this also can be a deterrent potentially to those that might bring weapons to school.
Okay, thank you for that. And then,
will these be used district-wide?
The goal would be first our 7 high schools, and then later replication if there is successful in reducing the number. So we'll continue to track the number of weapons or other things that are confiscated as part of the intake process, but hopefully we would see a reduction in that number and also a deterrent effect.
Thank you. I really do appreciate the work that the administration has done on this.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Dr. Cormack, did you also have additional feedback from some of the Council of Great City School?
Yes, as part of the bid process, each of those that responded to the RP process submitted recommendations. And so we could pull those additionally, but they were well satisfied. And as you all will recall, we had some conversation about clear backpacks and other things, and we shared with you at that time that this would be that was one strategy among several that we would consider, and so this is the follow-up on that.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item that we are recommending is the approval of the terms and services of the Voice Incorporated contract. As JPS continues to diversify its student population, there's a need to better serve our scholars and families. Voice is an on-demand interpretation service that will provide our staff members the ability to effectively communicate with scholars and their parents that speak various languages, which also includes sign language. This service will be available to central office staff as well as schools. Currently, there are 10 languages, according to our home language survey, that are spoken, not including English, within the district, and we provided a table of those languages.
Thank you, Dr. Cormack. Board members, are there any questions, comments? Hearing none, is there a request, or excuse me, is there a motion to approve item F and G?
I so moved.
So moved.
Get her.
Second?
Okay, Mrs. Johnson has moved, Dr. Harrison has seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. Thank you, Dr. Cormack. Next, Mr. Burke will present items H through L. Mr. Burke.
Good evening, Board, President Seaback, Superintendent Green, audience and team members. My first item, administration recommends the Board approve a new position. Oops, sorry. Pardon me. Got ahead of myself. The administration recommends that the Board approve child nutrition to move the executive chef position from the classified grade scale, classified scale grade I to the administrative scale grade B. This upgrade in scale grade is necessary to provide a salary amount that will support the recruitment of the highest quality candidates for the executive chef role. The executive chef will be responsible for menu preparation and conducting manager and cook training on food preparation and service to improve our scholars' overall dining experience. This is a part of our continuing efforts to make sure that there's quality service and meal prep across all of our school sites.
Thank you, Mr. Burke. Board members, any questions on this amendment? Hearing none, we'll move on to the request to approve a new position, the Director of Emergency Management.
Yes, sir. The administration recommends the Board approve a new position, the Director of Emergency Management. The new position will repurpose a deputy chief position and lead the district's preparation in response to multi-hazard emergencies. Duties will include developing plans, preparation, and responses around emergency plans and drill coordination in compliance with regulatory requirements.
Thank you, Mr. Burke. Any questions, board members? Hearing none, we'll move on to the request to approve the merger of Travel Centers of America, the parent company of Sistine Section Lisi TA Operating, LLC.
Yes, the administration requests the Board of Trustees consent to the merger of Travel Centers of America, Inc., the parent company of TA Operating, LLC, with Blue Star RTM Incorporated, with Travel Centers surviving the merger and becoming a wholly owned subsidiary of BP Products North America. According to Section 6 of the lease agreement dated August 1st of 1998 between the Board of Trustees of Jackson Public Schools and TA Operating, LLC, for the premises located at the tax parcel 201-2, the Board's consent is required and if the Board provide an estoppel certificate for the agreement by signing the consent and estoppel certificate. The lessee entered into an agreement and plan of merger. Long story short, we're asking for you to recognize that they are merging and that this new merged company that emerges out of this merger will become the new lessee. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much.
Any questions, board members? Okay. Next, we'll move on to item K, the request to approve the amendment to the professional service agreement with Duval Decker for various ESSER projects.
Yes, sir. These last two are related. So the administration seeks approval to modify Exhibit A of the AIA B101 standard form of agreement between the district as the owner and the architect Duval Decker Architects. This agreement was approved during the board meeting on June 21st, 2022. Basically, in a nutshell, we're asking for you to allow us to for Alan Herschel to pick up projects from Duval Decker, because Duval, due to some health-related issues at Duval Decker, they have fallen behind, and they are willing to give up those projects, specifically Capital City Alternative School and the work at the Environmental Learning Center. These are renovations and upgrades to these sites, including restrooms, classrooms, and HVAC systems, and some outdoor learning space enhancements. And those will be moved over to the agreement with Alan Herschel.
Thank you, Mr. Burke. Board members, any questions about these last two items? All right, hearing none, is there a motion to approve items H through L?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Thompson has moved. Dr. Harrison has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries. Next, we'll move on to the consent agenda item finance. All the consent agenda items have been reviewed by the board previously. We've had an opportunity to ask questions of the administration. Are there any further questions? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda finance?
So moved.
Second.
Dr. Harrison has moved. Mrs. Thompson has seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. Next, we have the consent agenda items for general. All the consent agenda items have been reviewed by the board previously and have had an opportunity to ask questions of the administration. Are there any further questions? If not, board members, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? General.
I move we approve consent agenda items general, A and B.
Second.
Dr. Harrison has moved. Mrs. Thompson has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
The motion carries. Next, we have the consent agenda item personnel. All the consent agenda items have been reviewed by the board previously, and we've had an opportunity to ask questions of the administration. Are there any further questions? If not, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda personnel?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Hilliard has moved. Mrs. Thompson has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 The motion carries. Board members, there is a consideration to hold an executive session, so we'll take a motion to close the meeting to consider executive session. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Mr. Figures has moved. Dr. Hairston has seconded. All in favor? Aye. The motion carries. Thank you, everyone, for your time this evening, and thank you for all the work that went into prepping this document, and to our board attorney who reviewed all the contracts that we reviewed tonight.